Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we're only 3 days away from Election Day 2025 out of New Jersey and Virginia and New York City, and I know there's some races in other places, but we're going to focus on the two main races in this video. Final roundup, not a final prediction video. We're going to do that on Monday, but a final roundup, if you will, for the final polling. And we have some new polls out of New Jersey that are showing a very, very contested and tight race. And this is huge because of the fact that you did not exactly have polls that were this close last time around when Jack almost pulled off the victory. And you have a poll that is from the most accurate pollster across the board, #1 in both 2020 and 2024, Atlas Intel. And what this poll shows is that this race is shaping up to be a nail-biter, an extreme nail-biter that you have. And it's not just this poll, because it is true, Atlas Intel has, in my opinion, released some very bad national polling, but their final polls tend to get it right. I know the crosstabs are very questionable, but they were also questionable in so many polls that absolutely nailed 2024. So I don't know if I want to, say that that's a reason to throw the poll in the trash can. If there is a reason to discount a poll like this, it's because ever since Bloomberg has been tied in with them, they have not been as solid, which again, Bloomberg used to be tied into Morning Compost, and we understood how bad they were back in 2024, but regardless, maybe they are accurate. And here's the deal with this poll. Yes, Mikey Sherrill's in the lead. Yeah, she's technically at 50, but there have not been a lot of polls conducted and released that don't have a lot of undecideds. And this is one of those polls, and this is essentially a coin flip. If it's under 1%, if the poll's off by 1%, Jack wins. And we understand how hard New Jersey is of a state to poll. A lot of these, pollsters, do they exactly break it down by the subgroups? Because if they're able to weigh for them effectively, when you have so many different ethnic white subgroups, different types of Italians, different types of Jews, different types of etc., it's a lot of working class voters that are hard to reach too, that are a part of Jack's coalition. The question is, are you going to get high enough turnout? So the polls in New Jersey, it's kind of like the polls in Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin. It's hard to effectively reach a lot of voters that typically vote Republican. Sometimes if you overcorrect for it, they don't exactly vote, and you see what happens in things like 2022. But this is one of the cases where Jack is a solid candidate that's going to get independents. He's going to get working class support. He's going to get support across the board. Mikey Sherrill's awful, where it's going to come down to the wire, in my opinion, and other polls are showing this. This is not the only poll to show such a thing, because you could look at this poll here out of Emerson. Emerson has Mikey Sherrill at 49, Jack at 48. With the leaners, it's not much different. Sherrill gains like half a point, but again, there's a lot of undecided voters here where it's like that 3%. If there's just a little bit of a turnout surge one way or the other, well, that could really determine the outcome of this race. And it's another poll with so few undecideds, and Jack is right there. He is right there. And when you look at the polling aggregate, it's a very different story than 2021, where Jack was down by 8-9 points in some cases, and he only ended up falling short by around 2 to 3 points. As you can see here, Jack, he fell by 3.2, and the polls had him down by close to 8. And if you apply that polling error, which I'm not saying is the #1 way you should predict an election, but it's important to take into consideration, especially given how bad 2024 polling was in New Jersey. Well, Jack's right there. And keep in mind, in 2021, Jack got a lot of the undecideds because Phil Murphy was unpopular, and Mikey Sherrill is unpopular, and Phil Murphy's even more unpopular, the incumbent. And Jack is somebody that is right there and could get those undecideds. And Cheryl's below the magic number. She's below 50%. In some polls, she's at 50. Some polls, she's a little above 50. We polled New Jersey and Virginia. We'll get to the Virginia poll. We have a good track record in Virginia. We don't have a track record in New Jersey. It was 52-45 Cheryl. I don't really buy those numbers. I think that next time around in New Jersey, the methodology, depending on how it shakes out, will have to be changed a little bit, and more subgroups are going to have to be accounted for and weighed for properly if Jack ends up pulling it off. But regardless, one thing we do know about New Jersey is that the undecideds typically lean right. The independents are leaning right, and increasingly so. And we'll see what's about to happen, because if Jack picks up those voters, then that's huge. Because it is true that the early vote data, it's not great, but it's also not everything, and we don't really know what it means. There's a lot of independents that are voting. You would imagine Jack is going to do better than Donald Trump with those independents, but we don't know which independents are showing up. We don't know which voters are going to turn out on election day at what rate. Obviously, election day is going to be more Republican, but how many voters are actually going to show up then? If there's really good turnout, it's probably a very good thing for Jack. He's very well in this race. It's going down the wire. I'm not going to sit here and say my prediction is that he's going to win, but this is a viable upset. This isn't like a 1% chance of victory. He's got like a 35% chance to win a state that 5 years ago voted for Joe Biden by 17 points. And this is with a Republican president currently in the White House. And then we get to Virginia, where Abigail Spanberger does have a lead. Winsome Sears has not ran the best campaign. Sometimes her messaging has been good. Sometimes she's really dropped the ball. And it's true that she possibly could weigh down some of the Republicans by not really doing that well at the top of the ticket. Now, thankfully, Jay Jones has decided to implode. This has led Jason Miyares to lead every single poll that has come out since the Jay Jones texting scandal, which is, in my opinion, a good thing, with the one exception of a poll that showed them tied. But what we do know is that, yeah, the top of the ticket is going to weigh down Miyares, even though Jay Jones is a reprehensible human being that has said these awful things and has other corruption scandals to boot. It's not just these things. So when you look at the polling that we conducted out of Virginia, it's showcasing an interesting finding where Winsome Sears is down. She's losing by 10. I personally think she's not going to lose by 10, but I don't think she's necessarily going to go out there and, make this a 4-point game. I'd be very surprised if that happened. I think it's going to be somewhere around an 8-point Spanberger win. It might look at the top of the ticket like 2017, and then down ballot, it's going to look a little bit more like 2021, where I do expect Jason Miyares to win. I don't think he's going to outperform Sears on net by any more than like 12 points. So we'll see what happens there. But I think enough people are decent people to the point where they're going to vote for Jason Miyares. Now, Virginia's lieutenant governor's race, very interesting. John Reed has had some scandals of his own. They have not been as egregious as the Jay Jones scandals. They're more amusing scandals. But still, he's narrowing the gap in several polls. I think Atlas Intel released a poll that had Spanberger up by 8, had Miyares up by 1, and then had John Reed down by 1. And in our poll, John Reed is down by just 2 points with a lot of undecided voters. So if there's a lot of down ballot lag because people are like, okay, I'll vote for the Democrat at the top of the ticket, then some of the other stuff that's going on with Jay Jones, they'll vote red down ballot. That definitely could boost John Reed. Is it going to boost him enough where he's going to win? I don't know if I would necessarily go that far, but it definitely is something to watch, because you do have a Democrat that has a confusing name, and then you have John Reed, pretty straightforward, and a lot of people don't do their research down ballot. Maybe they will for the AG's race because they've heard so much about Jay Jones because it was such an egregious scandal. But for the lieutenant governor's race, maybe not so much. And John Reed, pretty straightforward name. That type of stuff matters to people that look at their ballot for the first time and are genuinely undecided, to the point where if Hashmi's below 50, then maybe Reed's got a shot. But again, it is true that the top of the ticket does impact the rest of the ticket, where, undecideds who vote for Spanberger would be more likely to just vote Democrat for lieutenant governor, even if they are voting Miyares for attorney general. So there's a lot we don't know. But again, New Jersey, Virginia, these are going to be hotly contested races. I tell people just get out and vote if you live in those two states. Get other people out to vote that you know. And if you know people in those states, make sure to reach out to them and get them to turn out, because we can't afford to leave anything off the field, especially because in New Jersey, we have enough people to win. It is that close, so let's make it happen. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.